Hello my friends and welcome to a new video. Over the years I've gathered a lot, and I mean thousands of games in my collection. I only collect what I've loved to play in the past or what I think I would like to play when and if I have the time. Well, it seems that not a small number, as I now have in my collection over 4,000 original games, standard, limited or collector's edition for over 20 consoles and PC. And I have the means to play them all, as all my consoles are hooked and ready to play. There is a lot to talk about this, but for today I've gone through my collection and choose 7 PlayStation 3 games which I believe are still great to play on 2022. Let's not waste any more time and see what I've prepared for you today. First one on my list is a PlayStation 3 game, which became somehow rare and hard to get lately, and quite pricey. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle is a fighting game based on Hirohiko Araki's long-running manga series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is one of the best-selling manga series in history, with over 120 million copies in circulation. In the game, you get to fight in various locations, taken from the manga, with one of the 40 characters from the series plus one guest from another manga created also by Araki. The game has a great art direction and stunning graphics from start to finish, and every battle is a joy to play and watch. The player wins a round by draining all of their opponent's stamina or by possessing more stamina than their opponent when time runs out. Gameplay uses 5 main buttons: light, medium and heavy attacks, a dodge button and a style button. Along with the ability to use various special attacks and techniques with different directional inputs, each character possesses a battle style, allowing them to utilize additional moves with the style button. Styles fall into one of 6, later 7 main categories: Ripple, Vampirism, Mode, Stand, Mounted, Bow of Arm, Phenomenon and Ogre Street, each utilizing different abilities when the style button is pressed. The game featured a story mode, reminiscent of the one present in newer Mortal Kombat games, versus mode, practice and arcade mode. There was also an online campaign mode, but unfortunately this is no longer available as the servers are long gone. Released exclusively for the PlayStation 3 in Japan in 2013 and internationally in 2014, JoJo Bizarre Adventure finally got a remaster this September on all current-gen platforms, so you have additional options to play it now. As with any other games based on manga, it is always a good occasion to also check on the original manga and also on the animated series adapting the manga's third part, Stardust Crusaders, which was released between 1993 and 2002. There are other movies based on the manga, but I will let you discover them by yourself if you want to. It is considered the ultimate game for the fans of the show, and it's no wonder that it justified a remaster. Oh boy, the next game is so good and well known that it makes it pretty hard to present it. I'm talking about the first Infamous, released by the renowned developer Sucker Punch on 2009 only on PlayStation 3. This is one of the best open-world action adventures of his generation, in which you play the role of Cole McGrath, a bike messenger caught in the center of an explosion that devastates several city blocks of the fictional metropolis Empire City, which is based on New York City, consisting of the Neon District, where most of the Empire City businesses are concentrated, the Warren, a slum dependent of international shipping activity, and the Historic District, the location of the city government. The explosion sends the city into chaos, while Cole finds himself with new electricity-based superpowers. Though the game story follows Cole using his new abilities to restore some semblance of order to Empire City, the player is given several opportunities to use these powers for good or evil purposes in the game's karma system.
He stole my food! Kill him! I probably shouldn't get involved in this. Alden's still running around, and if he gets away, Moya's gonna have my hide. I could zap that guy and cut him loose. Maybe I just walk away and leave him there to rot.
These choices ultimately affect character growth, the reaction of cities popularized towards Cole, and final elements of gameplay and the story. The game is played from a third-person perspective where the player controls Cole and primarily interacts with the world of Empire City through Cole's newly gained electricity-based powers. These are used for movement, offense and defense in combat, and either for better or worse in dealing with the citizens of Empire City. You cannot use any vehicles or weapons in the game, and you are unable to swim. The reason being that you are vivified electricity, so you must base all your action on the electric powers gained throughout the game. Some kind of RPG system is in place. You gain experience points for specific actions, stunts and missions, and you can use them to upgrade your powers. During the game, you have some karma moments in which you can choose to be good or evil in a given situation. Some story missions are opened only for good or evil characters, and also the karma level will influence the comportment of civilians of Empire City.
Alden! This ends now. Holy shit.
Empire City is built on 3 islands, and the player must work through main story missions on each island before being able to access the next one, though future missions may require the player to return to an earlier island. Though Cole must travel on foot, he eventually gains powers that allows him to grind along power cables and powered elevated train layers, and to hover for a short time. Scattered around the city are hundreds of blast shards, which Cole can collect to increase the amount of electricity he can store. There are 32 dead drop satellite transmitters that help to reveal more of the backstory in the game. Also, the graphics are really top-notch for this generation. If you didn't play this one yet, you owe it to yourself to try it.
At least you bastards are good for something.
Here we have a game very much loved by the community back in the day. Mod Nation Racers is a go-kart racing game developed by United Front Games in 2010. You can play it also on PlayStation Portable, but the best version is the PlayStation 3 one.
Welcome one, welcome all to the new season of the MRC, the Mod Nation Racing Championship. 28 of the most exciting, exploding, life-threatening demolition kart races in the whole wide world.
The game had a big accent on customization and content created by the community, and unfortunately, this is the biggest drawback at the moment because Sony closed the servers for this game from 2018. Still, being such a loved game, the community released a hack server back in the day, and theoretically you can still play this part of the game and even earn the multiplayer trophies using this server. At the beginning, you'll customize your racer, which is an all-white character model, reminiscent of Sackboy from Little Big Planet. The process of creating new tracks is an easy and fun one. You drive over a flat terrain template and paint the road from start to finish. You can set up different obstacles and create shortcuts on tracks. But if the servers are down and the mod station, the main lobby area of the game, is pretty empty, what can you still do in the game? The single-player career mode puts you in the shoes of Tiger or Tug, a silent character throughout the cutscenes of the game. You advance the career by finishing at least on third place on every race. The artificial intelligence is pretty challenging, especially on the later stages of the career. You'll play standard racers mainly, but you'll also have some stunt challenges to try. It's fun, and if you like Mario Kart, you'll be at home in this game, especially when you try split-screen local multiplayer. Yes, the good old times when you had split-screen on Sony consoles. The game offers maximum 4-player local multiplayer, exactly like in Mario Kart 8. So, even though official servers are down, you can still have a lot of fun with this really good kart racing game, and it's perfect for a pizza party like in the N64 times.
You see those item pods there? Like to see you do that again.
And now, a launch game for the PlayStation 3 console from 2006. Genji Days of the Blade is the sequel for Genji Dawns of the Samurai, a game released just a year prior for the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 game received average reviews but still was able to justify the rushed PlayStation 3 sequel. Now, it's a funny story. The game got a lot of traction as it was shown by Sony at E3 2006. When showcasing the PlayStation 3, it was pretty hilarious. Check this out.
Genji 2 is an action game which is based on Japanese history. The stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
This is now remembered as the giant enemy crab meme, which also generated even a lot of other memes over the following years. When the game launched, it was not very well received, averaging a score of 55 on Metacritic. Pretty low, no? The game starts with some impressive cutscenes for the time.
Halt! Only authorized people may enter.
Let us go.
It was the start of a new era, the HD era. And then the game starts, and it doesn't look half bad for such an early PlayStation 3 game.
What is it? What happened here?
Woman. Here she warriors. It all happened so quickly.
Animation are more than decent also. Then why all this hate for this game? In terms of story, the game takes place 3 years after the events of the first Genesis game, which are narrated in the prologue.
The battle for dominance between the Genji and Heisei drew to a close, and employing the divine powers of the Yamahaka for their evil purposes, the Heisei finally prevailed.
The game is an action-adventure fighting game which copies a lot from Onimusha series. During the game, we will control more characters which you can switch from one another whenever we may please, and especially during battles, every character possessing different sets of abilities and styles of fighting. First of them is Yoshitsune, one of the 2 playable characters of the first Genshin game. He has a fast fighting style using a pair of swords and possesses the abilities to double jump, wall run and long distance jumps. Then there is Benkei, a tank type character, being the strongest in the game, which smash everything in his way, including objects like barrels. The weapons you use in the game can be leveled up, which is really cool. In case of Benkei, you can play the entire game with his first weapon if you manage to upgrade it. The third character we can use in the game is in fact a female character named Lady Shizuka, which can do very long distance attacks, but doing smaller damage than other characters. She also possesses the ability to cling to objects and pull herself towards them. The last playable character that we have is Basan, which uses a double-bladed sword and a winged type of attack. I think you should really give this game a chance. In my opinion, the bad presentation that it got at E3 2006 somehow dictated the exaggeratedly bad reviews at launch, and the only place you can still play this is on PlayStation 3 console. One of the highest rated games on PlayStation 3, this collection is a must for any true gamer. Released in 2011, the collection offered a remastered version of iCUE and Shadow of the Colossus PlayStation 2 heavy hitters. The 2 timeless classics are in a league of their own, and if you had any doubts that video games aren't art, you really should try these 2 creative, intimate and emotional pieces of interactive entertainment. The original iCUE was released in 2001 and was a smashing hit on PlayStation 2. In the game, you control iCUE, cursed by being born with horns on his head and locked away in a remote empty castle by his village. After you manage to free yourself, you encounter Yorda, a young and frail girl who is chased by some shadowy creatures which try to drag her in a different realm. The game is very atmospheric, and you lose yourself in its immersive world, more so due to its minimalistic interface. Everything is integrated naturally in the game. For example, after exploring the castle a bit, you encounter a sofa. You sit on it and discover that this is how you save the game. To progress the game, you will need to resolve simple puzzles, but the relation you build with Yorda and interactions with her are what drags you further. You will find the same kind of characters relation and development in the third masterpiece of Fumito Ueda, The Last Guardian on PlayStation 4. iCUE runs Full HD 60 FPS, and don't expect other big improvements for this remaster. The textures are really low quality and animations are pretty uncraved, but this keeps somehow the mystery of the game. I really enjoy it, and after playing Last Guardian I feel the need to play this one again. second game in the collection is Shadow of the Colossus, which is considered a prequel set in the same world as iCUE, and it was released initially on PlayStation 2 in 2005. You will find a lot of people who love this game and for which this is their favorite game ever. It's that good. It's such an influential title that did such a good expose of video games being art. Its minimalistic landscape designs, the immersive gameplay, and the strong emotions that it managed to arise in players made it receive critical acclaim both from reviewers and players, and really strong sales back in the PlayStation 2 days. The remastered version runs in 720p at 30 FPS. It is a big improvement, believe me. The PlayStation 2 version had abysmal frame rates, often under 20 FPS, and was until 2018 the best way to experience the game. You are the Wanderer, cool, no? Which in the beginning of the game brings a deceased young beautiful woman, Mono, to the altar in the shrine of worship. The relation of your character with Mono is never made clear, leaving it up to the player's imagination. I will not spoil more of the story, but in terms of gameplay, you will need to fight, or should I say resolve, 16 bosses for saving your love. Every boss has his specific perks, and you will need to use different strategies every time. It's a cool concept, and a nice deviation to the norm of using bullet sponge bosses. But man, the game is so much more, having a completely open world design in part due to its history of initially being a project started as an online multiplayer game, redeveloped as a single player one. In its lengthy development time, the game will make you travel vast areas on your trusty friend the horse Argo. You will do platforming and puzzle solving on every Colossus encounter, and you'll feel accomplished on every Colossus which you manage to defeat. There's so much more to tell about it, but it's best that you just try it. Try make it to the third boss, and I guarantee you that it will be really difficult to let it down after that. If you want the original feeling of the PlayStation 2 edition, but enhanced with better resolution and frame rate, this is the best you can get. It even has support for 3D televisions. But you need to know that there is also a remake of this game on PlayStation 4 made by the same team that did the remaster, Blue Point Games, which is also really good. One more thing I want to mention. For me, the beginning of this game and the scenes of you riding Argo with your sword up pointing to the next Colossus always bring back the memory of the iconic title screen of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Going through this selection from my collection, I just realized how many of them are remasters or, which is the case with this one, were remastered or remade from scratch in the last years. Demon's Souls is considered the one that started the craziness of Souls series and the Souls type of games, but the game is also considered to be a spiritual successor to the Kingsfield series, so it's debatable which is the first Souls games.
King Alland XII, by channeling the power of souls, brought unprecedented prosperity to his northern kingdom of Boletaria. That is, until the colorless deep fog swept across the land.
I could never finish the game back in the day, and I'm still struggling with the PlayStation 5 remake. It's that hard, but it's also very good and addicting. The Souls formula is having its effects. The game takes place in a fictional world in Boletaria. The kingdom is consumed by a dark being called the Old One.
The Old One, the great beast below the Nexus,
which was released following the use of forbidden soul arts. You're taking the role of the one who is sent to kill the fallen King Alland and find a solution with the original demon, the Old One. The game world is divided into 5 areas, which are connected through a hub called the Nexus.
Together the northern land of Boletaria. Thou canst not exit the Nexus, but each of the 5 archstones will connect into another.
As on all the other Souls games, there are implemented different mechanics regarding fighting, progression, dying, which you'll do a lot in this game, and respawning. At the time of the release, there are also online features. You could, and should, if you want to have a better chance of finishing the game, collaborate with other players. You could leave messages in the game world, or your ghost imprint could remain recorded for other players to see how you died. You could also invade other players' world. These mechanics are now available only if you are connected to the unofficial private server, the Arstones, or if you are playing the remake, which was released for the PlayStation 5 in 2020. The game framerate is not that good on PlayStation 3 and runs only in 720p maximum resolution. Should you play it on PlayStation 3? If you could not put your hands on a PlayStation 5 to play the remake, you don't have other chance to experience a truly great game. The differences between the original and the remake, apart from the graphics and framerate, are minor. Some may argue that the PlayStation 5 version is a bit easier, some they will say that the PlayStation 3 version is easier, but it's basically the same game. The original Demon Souls will remain in the history of Souls game, and the physical version is already a collectible item. What did I tell you? We have yet another set of remakes to show it because why not? There are two great ones. The God of War series was hot back in 2011 when this collection launched, following the first volume, which contains the first two PlayStation 2 God of War games remastered for the PlayStation 3. The second volume contains the two games originally exclusive to PlayStation Portable, remastered in Full HD for the PlayStation 3, and it represents the best way you could experience these two games on an original hardware at 1080p 60 FPS.
Spartan, witness the end.
The games also have support for 3D TVs if anyone still happens to have one. Chains of Olympus is a prequel to the first God of War, in which you, Kratos, a server of the Olympian gods, will be guided by the goddess Athena to find the sun god Helios. The game is presented in a third-person perspective, as all the other God of War games, but with a fixed camera perspective. You will fight your way through the game using combos and navigate the world through platforming, resolving some easy puzzles along the way. The fighting is enjoyable and as good as it was in the first God of War games. The environment could look a bit poor in details, with his simpler graphics giving the game origins in PlayStation Portable, but the great gameplay make it still really playable in our days.
How I have missed you, Kratos.
What treachery is this? Another trick of the gods?
Ghost of Sparta is the other PlayStation Portable God of War game in this collection, originally released in 2010. Chronologically, is set after the first God of War. The gameplay resembles the previous installments in the series, so you know what to expect. Again, you are controlling Kratos and you fight using a lot of cool combos. You will do platforming and resolve some puzzles. The game is again enjoyable and really addicting. Your main weapon is a pair of blades attached to chains called the Blades of Athena. Later in the game, you will also acquire Arms of Sparta, a spear and a shield which will offer alternative combat options. Similar with the Rage ability from previous games, you will gain the Terra's Bane ability that infuses the blades with fire, increasing the attack power. There's not much to tell about this game. It's a well-known series, and if it happens that you've skipped these installments, make yourself a favor and play them now. Even if the God of War series evolved a lot in the last installment, going back to the origin of the series is still a treat in my opinion. So, guys, these were 7 PlayStation 3 physical games from my collection, which are my proposal for you to try or collect in 2022. If you liked the video, please take a moment to leave a like and comment with your favorite PS3 games. And if you want more videos like this one, subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. Thank you and see you the next time.